Friends, let's be honest. America isn't that great. It never was. This nonsense we hear about making America great again is nothing more than the fanciful lore of an era that never truly existed. Now, sure, there are aspects of American exceptionalism, things we should take great pride in as a nation. But to delude ourselves with a fictional narrative about greatness, well, that does a monumental disservice to our young nation's burgeoning potential. Proclaiming a falsified greatness would be a surrender to the status quo, an empty triumph that precludes us from partaking in the continued efforts to build an even stronger, better, and more exceptional republic. In the contested spaces of our nation's character, where ideas about our national identity and a shared vision for our future remain entrenched in division, it is of utmost importance that we remain cognizant of the historical truths that have come to define who we are today. And just as we must pay homage to the genuine triumphs and milestones that have contributed to our exceptionalism, we must never forget or feign ignorance about the moral lapses and regrettable failings that darken our past. America was forged on the genocide of a native people and built by the labor of slaves. And there are also prolonged struggles for freedom and acceptance by those who were, and by those who still are, members of disenfranchised groups and communities. There is so much potential in our nation that goes untapped and unrecognized. Our country's faults aside, we have had moments of heroism, unabated courage, along with shared moments of reactionary angst and shame. Our triumphs and failures are, for better or for worse, the growing pains of a young nation, still very much on the cusp of adolescence. The successes of our country and our prosperous reign of economic, military, and geopolitical supremacy are tempestuous feats for luring us into a state of comfort, declaring ourselves the victors. But the world is an ever-changing place, with unprecedented threats and challenges lurking just beyond the horizon. The survival of our nation is not yet assured nor guaranteed, and this domestic strife, political polarization, and conflicts over the direction that we should take continue to simmer, the inherent vulnerabilities of America are repeatedly brought under fire. The strength of our nation and our best chance of overcoming these tumultuous times is not in rewriting our history nor adopting a false narrative of greatness, but rather in embracing the harsh realities and uncomfortable truths so that we can mature together and move forward as a country. You see, adolescence provides the benefit of learning from the past and present, and it gives us a unique opportunity to enhance the very best examples of ourselves and others by implementing what works and shedding or retooling what doesn't. America has many problems. We have an imperfect and at times even incompetent government. Our social systems and institutions are deeply flawed and at times unjust. Inequality and social injustices continue to undermine the collective good of our nation. Political polarization has engrossed nearly every aspect of our culture. It is difficult to even find agreement as to the problems affecting our nation, not to mention their root causes and their potential solutions, without wading headfirst into the choppy waters of political partisanship. The survival of our nation depends upon the construct of a shared vision and a willingness to compromise for the greater good, something that has all been impossible in our current climate of division. We are bombarded with political messaging and manipulative attempts to influence our perspectives. Real conversations must break through the political rhetoric and skewed filter of partisanship that proliferate our current culture of identity and party politics. These conversations must focus our attention on the core problems affecting our nation, broaching sometimes uncomfortable issues, and examining their root causes, all from outside the political lens that we become so accustomed to. Forget about liberalism and conservatism. Break free from the entrapment of partisan politics that seeks to define you and I within the narrow mandates of the Democratic and Republican platforms. You know what? It's time to just be Americans, a collective and diverse coalition of vested stakeholders, because that's what we are. Coup Save America aims to serve this purpose, providing a civil space that enables average citizens, not celebrity journalists or politicians, to engage in a productive dialogue. Now, for the sake of transparency, Coup Save America does have a socially progressive bias, but we nonetheless strive to present an honest and diverse perspective. We don't pretend to profess a position of neutrality, and we reject the concept of unbiased media. Humans are, after all, inherently biased, and the only way to counter these tendencies is to be aware of and upfront about them and acknowledge our flawed thoughts and logic. Regardless of our political leanings, Coup Save America aims to bring a voice to all Americans, exploring our nation's many problems with as much objectivity, compassion, and brute honesty we can muster. We intend to invite guests from all political persuasions to join us in these conversations, asking only that the discourse remain respectful and intellectually honest. We're going to employ a sociological lens that looks critically upon the issues and problems affecting our nation, looking to forge alliances with our fellow citizens to heal the great divide of our time. This show believes that systemic social change begins by challenging our individual perspectives, listening to others with an empathetic ear and a compassionate heart, and facing our collective fears together. Friends, diversity remains our nation's greatest strength, and it's time for each of us to leave the safe spaces of our comfort zones to engage with each other and reach across the divided trenches of our political polarities to find meaningful solutions. So if you're interested in taking part in a new type of coup, one that arms citizens with knowledge, awareness, and sincere contemplation, well, please tune in. This is Coup Save America, a weekly podcast that brings together real people having real conversations about real issues, all for the purpose of effectuating real change. Welcome to Coup Save America. I'm Sean Sainthart. Please, let's fight for change together as a unified America. And maybe, just maybe, we can make this nation just a little bit greater. CoupSaveAmerica.com.